I learned through that is my passion for founders and the work that founders do, but also the businesses that they're trying to start and grow. Playing a role in bringing those people together and being able to connect them to people that have walked that talk, who have gone through a lot of the experiences, have potentially failed and succeeded in equal measure, and have learned from it, and essentially building a really strong community, more education and information around what to do with your money. It opens up a nice life for a lot of people that don't necessarily fit into that mold.
Hello and welcome to another one of our Ways to Wealth episodes. Today we have Rachael Fitzjohn with us today, who I met while she was serving as fractional CEO at Morgo, and I went to their conference, so we got to know each other there. But Rachael, why don't you introduce yourself, because I will inevitably not do as good a job as you.
Hi, Charlie. Thanks for having me. Yes, I'm Rachael Fitzjohn. Some people know me as Fitzy. So if I walk the street and someone calls that out, I definitely know that it's something to do with work, which is a name to have. But no, I met Charlie at Morgo, which was great. We chatted over dinner with others as well, which is really cool. I'm currently a people director at a wonderful scaling company in itself called Emerging Engines. So we provide people and culture services for scaling businesses, which is quite a unique space. The needs are quite special for those that know the space. And look, I'm really enjoying it. So yeah, a little bit about me. I also live in my chin. I've got two, one preteen and one teenage boy. So they keep me on my toes relatively frequently. But yeah, I'm here to talk to you.
Nice, amazing. And you've basically gone through and done a lot of delivery roles and managerial roles through your career. That's clearly been like a bent of yours. And now you're kind of, seems like you got a bit of a bug for the people side quite a long time ago. Even when we were at Morgo, a lot of the focus was around the community, therefore people. So was that something that was always there, or was there a catalyst where all of a sudden you made that pivot and were thinking about the management and kind of team? Uh,
That's a really good question. And I kind of often refer to my career as a series of happy accidents. Like, I would never want people to think that I've sat here and calculated everything from where to go. But probably way to describe the kind of person I am, at which you've picked up on as well, which is that I just really love people. And I've always got a real sort of fairness beat to my personality. Fairness has always been a really important thing for me, no matter what I'm doing. Uh, and so obviously that sort of reared its head when I was starting out on my career journey as well. I think that there's a really a really important role that we can play when it comes to people and culture. And I was really fortunate to start, I guess, my first managerial or sort of team leadership role in a small business where I had quite a lot of flex to be able to sort of test some of my opinions and the way that I needed to work while still being really conscious of what the business needed as well. And I guess that really started me in that journey of like, it's possible to care about both things. Like, you don't need to care about one over the other. And so, yeah, I then was given the opportunity to move more into what used to be called the HR space. I prefer to call it people and culture these days, but more of a focus on that. And that was at a company called HainesAttract, which does recruitment solutions and recruitment advertising. And then I moved into the wonderful world of digital delivery by BNZ Digital and then Xero and Cogo, which has given me incredible insight into high performing teams, some of the tips and tricks to get the best out of people, whilst, as I said, always thinking about that kind of balance of like the business needs to do well. to be able to keep employing everybody, but happy people also deliver really good stuff for the business. So that's kind of a little bit of how I made that switch.
Nice. And then obviously you've moved on to Morgo, and now you're at Emerging Engines. What did you learn while you were at Morgo? Because you kind of had the full cycle of what I would call a kind of an event or a season of Morgo, with the kind of build up events and then the conference and then, the post conference. So it kind of is very cyclical. It looks like that business and that kind of the model is very cyclical, very community driven. Actually quite grassroots, but grassroots in a different way than you would traditionally think, perhaps.
Morgo was a really amazing opportunity for me. I think when I finished up with Cogo, and I was in a head of people and culture role, and it was part of sort of growth, and then various ups and downs as all companies have during that period. But I guess what I learnt through that is my passion for founders and the work that founders do, but also the businesses that they're trying to start and grow. And so Morgo was like a really natural fit for me in terms of, being really, really close to the ground, in terms of what a lot of these founders were trying to do. But as you've said, it is really grassroots, but is keeping that kind of that really sophisticated approach to what it's like to scale something, but also keeping real about it too, and allowing, I guess, a space for founders and those involved in those early stage companies that are wanting to scale, that they've got a safe space in which to share some of the stresses, because it can be so lonely. It can be really hard. If you've got staff, you've potentially got a lot of people's wages, on the line. You've got their family. It's a lot of pressure. And so what I really enjoy is playing a role in bringing those people together. And then with the influence we had as a brand, and obviously Jenny's personal brand as well, in terms of like nothing that we would do would not be relevant to them, because we know how busy everyone is. We know that you don't have time, and being able to connect them to people that have walked that talk, who have gone through a lot of the experiences, have potentially failed and succeeded in equal measure, and have learned from it, and essentially building a really strong community, with safety at the key, I guess, that psychological safety being at the center of it.
Yeah. Yeah, that was definitely apparent when I went. It was quite cool. You obviously had a lot of returnee guests as well, for sure. Like, there were obviously a lot of loyals there that had been there many, many years, and that's obviously something that it becomes basically a part of someone's, kind of calendar year. But yeah, annual schedule, and maybe that's a way that a number of these people basically get these founders, but in particular, seemed like there was a core group of founders, maybe 8 or so, that had clearly been through the whole journey as a part of the Morgo community.
Yeah.
Um,
Important
yeah.
to get that range, because that's where wonderful conversations happen, where they've gone through the journey, so they're able to like have really real life sort of examples to share with people that are perhaps earlier on in their journey. But it's definitely important to be able to think about the calendar for the year, because as I sort of mentioned before, people are really busy. There's a lot of demands on these people's time. And so, for us, it was really important to be giving as much notice as possible to essentially go, right, let's hook up. What are you going to do this year? This is when Morgo is. This is when our various sort of networking events are. So you can prioritize those throughout the year. And that's been, in terms of the mix of people, yeah, we definitely have some absolute, we had some real diehard Morgo fans. And it's trying to get that balance of sort of return people that can kind of tell stories of Morgo over the years, and then over the years, but then also our newbies as well, which is also sort of enhanced by what Jenny is continuing with Morgo, which is this, some various sponsorship of different people to give them exposure to those experiences when they may not otherwise be in a position to be able to do it.
Totally, yeah, I mean, yeah, absolutely. And then discounts at times as well to help people kind of along the way, right? Um,
Like,
because some of us are just cheap, poor startup founders trying to make it in the world.
exactly, and we know that. We know that. Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I think it was cool. I really enjoyed it. It's definitely something I would consider doing again. Um, it was cool, but it is hard to prioritize it, you know. And some of those, but then you might have a couple of years where it's hard to prioritize it. But hopefully, by year 3 or 4, you're kind of in a stage where that stability's there, and then it becomes that kind of almost like a break. Is what I kind of worked out. It kind of really is.
Well, and we want it to be sort of, sort of a recharge, like a, it's not designed to be something where we all sort of sit around and navel gaze. It's designed and continues to be designed to be something that is really helpful, but in a really, I guess, relaxed environment that is going to challenge you, but it's going to recharge you, give you new energy because as I mentioned before, it's really hard work being a founder. Like you are a lot of the time when you're at the beginning stages, you are doing every role, you know? And as I said, you've got the pressures of people are working for you. You've got those pressures as well. You've got market product fit. You've got all sorts of other things on your plate. So to be able to just again, be in that safe space with people that are either currently or have been or are likely to be shortly in the same situation as you and surround them with like really interesting people, some good, challenging talks, all of that kind of thing. We've really felt that, Jenny and I, when we were working on the last Morgo together, were very clear on the fact that the feedback we were getting is that like, oh, I've walked away with a sort of a notebook full of new ideas that I'm going to business. And so it's around really mixing that sort of theoretical with the practical things that you can take away as well.
Yeah, totally. I mean, that's definitely what have felt also going through Creative HQ's Accelerator now, is that also see like that's the magic that Morgo created is also something that those guys have done quite well and really curated as a part of their programs. Obviously, they're very good at it.
Yeah.
And I think as a founder also, it's the other way around. It's like you underestimate the effort and thought that goes into making an event
Yeah.
because you were too busy thinking about all the things that you were thinking about that you're not even thinking about what the creativity that goes into that. Um,
And such thought into like and real respect for people's time. Like there's a lot of people trying to support in different ways, and there is a place for everybody. I strongly believe that, and a lot of the incubators and, sort of investment companies in New Zealand, everyone is trying to support, including Morgo. There is a place for everybody, and I'm not sort of speaking ill of anyone else, but in terms of what Jenny and I were trying to do with Morgo, and Jenny's continuing on with that is we want this to be a really valuable use of your time. We're also taking it away from your family for a couple of days, your friends, like your usual sort of habits and stuff, and away from your business, which won't be stopping while you're gone. It'd be bloody valuable. Totally the forefront of the thinking as well.
yeah, nice. It was good. It was good. Cool. So you basically have this career. You really love people. You've worked across a number of different tech companies. What, where, what are the key indicators across these organizations that they all had in common that were or that allowed them to excel? If there were commonalities, or maybe the commonalities are ones where the teams are really productive and happy.
Right.
Productive, I think, as well, like from a as a yeah, productive and happy with them. Almost a focus on productivity, because obviously, hopefully, the team should enjoy the work, hopefully, so that increases happiness. But yeah, where it was like flat, or maybe not, maybe that's not the right approach. Yeah, tell me more.
So I think it's a really, and look, this is part of the reason why I joined Emerging Engines, because the tagline for Emerging Engines is productivity through people, and I strongly believe in that. And I, as I said, I alluded to it before, and it is possible to have really good business performance and like recognize what the business needs, but also to look after people as well and to give them the best opportunities in their careers to do good stuff. Because most people don't come to work and go, oh God, how can I can do the least amount possible? You know, most people in environments want to do a good job. So it kind of, I guess, falls into a few different, I guess, buckets for me. The first one is don't underestimate the role that communication plays in successes and failures, right? So if you think about a successful piece of work or a successful business or whatever it is, um, really good communication is probably at the heart of it. If you then have a joke about seeing a business fail or there was a big stuff up with something or whatever it is, chances are communication or lack thereof has played a part in that too. So I know from human behavior, if there are gaps in communication, humans tend to fill it with a worst case scenario. When sometimes that isn't the case at all, it just needs to be explained properly. And look, if it is difficult information, respect people as adults and actually tell them, obviously within reason, what's going on. So I think communication is a big one. I'm really big on, you need the structure that you need. I've worked in companies where the structure's been quite hierarchical. And then recently, obviously, and currently, I'm in a very, very flat structure. Um, I'm not about to say that I prefer flat structures, but I also know that, your business gets to a certain size and you need some steps in place. But I think the common thread through all of them is a focus on good leaders. Like, you don't want an accidental leader. Well, you don't want a manager who's trying to be a leader, for example. Like, there's some people that are really, really good subject matter experts, and they have, for example, in a scale up world, have been there from the beginning and know all of the ins and outs. But you do get to a stage where you need to focus on people that you've got on board as being good leaders, because they are the ones that are going to communicate well with people. They're going to coach people. They're going to provide really good pastoral care. Like, is everyone okay? Has someone like need that they need a bit of attention on or whatever?
Right.
Um, but also setting the standard as well, in terms of what a good operator looks like. So that's another really big one, for me as well. So the communication and then the leadership. Um, the other aspect for me is around try to get everybody involved in what the business is trying to achieve. And I know that people sort of might roll their eyes at like the terms around like KPIs and OKRs and that kind of thing. But there's a reason why businesses and successful businesses have often got them all in place, because it's a really, really good way of connecting everybody to what the company's trying to do. So it can't, yeah, I think they're great. And it means that you've got real clarity in terms of, okay, well, me and my role, for example, I'm going to do this piece of work and I'm going to prioritize that because it links very directly with that OKR. Someone asks you to do something else or something else pops in, if I can refer back to what is the business wanting me to focus on, it's really good to be able to prioritize your time in that way.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I definitely agree with that. And it's fun making goals, especially if they relate to you and you can have an impact on them. I think it's difficult where there are goals where the individual can't have impact on the result. And that's always difficult. And that's often the case in smaller organizations where you have an OKR for the business, even though you should have an OKR for a business and all the team.
Yeah.
Those more granular level like impacts of, oh, well, why am I editing podcasts when I can't um impact sales, but all of our companies say metrics might be around, you know revenue or uh, uh AUM if you're a finance company, etc. So um
And but in saying that, Charlie, like, I've done this with a couple of clients that I've been working on recently, is providing support at that leadership level in terms of what are the OKRs, and do think about the different parts of the business. There's reason why you have these different parts of the business doing different things. So, and then I've done quite a lot of work, which has been really helpful working with the leaders to then be able to cascade those company-wide OKRs down into sort of key sort of goals for each team to feed up the other OKRs. That's where you can get that wonderful sort of magical spot of making sure that everyone feels like they're playing a role.
Yeah, that's cool. Yeah, I need to think about that more. We've always had those sort of roles, and those goals internally. And we just brought on a sales and marketing person, so our first kind of commercial hire, which has been really cool. But that means that the business is no longer just about building technology and building product. It's now about something else. Um, and all of our management
What drives the salesperson?
product.
Business development and product is going to be totally different to what someone building software is going to be motivated by.
Yeah. Yeah, and our team has been focused more around that building side rather than the compliance side rather than the sales side. So now it's really cool to have that started, and it's been going really well. So we're happy with it.
Yeah.
Um, but most of our meeting cadence is around technology, the technology team, because it's only been technology. So what we've done is we've added that to our kind of development team. Like, we're a small team, so it's just kind of been bolted on. But we realized that um, we didn't have a very effective project management tool for the commercial side.
Right.
Um, but we are built on GitHub for everything. So the sales side is just going into there, which is okay right now. But I'm a little bit concerned that as the sales grows, trying to get more and more sales people on GitHub is going to be potentially a bit of a challenge. So it's definitely a 2025 solution.
You might need to think about what your tooling is going forward.
Yeah, yeah. So I need to think of.
Got to do at the moment. It's totally like no. Let's not get hung for that. Let's not Google Sheet for managing our finances.
Yeah, we were doing Google Sheets as well for project management for the more commercial side. And it is good because you can iterate fast, but now it's more than two people. Um, you then need to move on to something, and we have GitHub unlimited seats free until September. So it's basically we're using this until September. We will revisit it then. Is kind of our process there.
Prag- Pragmatism wins the day in these situations.
Hopefully, that would give me some confidence if that was the case. Um, so as someone that's had really cool roles in lots of different tech businesses, how have you thought about wealth building, and how have you kind of thought about, okay, like, well, actually, let's go away from that for a second. What does success look like then in 5 years? So if you're like, okay, I'm actually gonna teleport 5 years into the future, because you said you've landed in the place where you felt you needed to be, but the best places you need to be, you're usually there for a while. So what does 5 years from now look like? And like, what would success look like in that kind of scenario for 5 years?
In terms of like from a career perspective and
Well, yeah, from you as a both, you as a complete human, because it's connected, right?
as a as opposed to a half-baked one. A way that if I was to teleport myself 5 years into the future, I want to be really, making a positive difference via emerging engines for scale-up businesses. I want emerging engines and me, for example, looking after the particular clients that I look after to be a go-to person in that space. Because we are proven, we're trusted, we're pragmatic, and we're real partners. Like, I've got this real kind of sort of analogy of sort of let's link arms and get on with it together kind of thing. So I would really hope to be, I guess, really owning that space alongside my colleagues. but with a really, really good reputation, and with people just coming to us, of course, is the ultimate dream, isn't it? As opposed to go out and see what's out there.
Right. Yeah, right. Yeah, the inbound.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, and I know that, that's most people's dream. It is mine as well. Um, uh, the other thing personally for me is my personal sort of brand. It's really indifferent as well. Like, whilst I work for Emerging Engines, I am obviously Rachael Fitzjohn, and I do a lot of I want people to still to always believe that I'm a trustworthy person to come to, whether it's professionally or whether it's kind of touching on professional person or whatever it is.
Yeah.
I hold people's time in high regard, and I'm a very I'm slow to judge people as well. I don't know if that's an age thing or a life experience thing, but I'm very open to what other people might be experiencing or choosing to do. So I would like that sort of personal brand to stick with me as well, is that I'm generally a bloody good person and I can be trusted. And I'm a good friend and family member as well. So that's really important. And then it's a wealth position. I don't want to be, I mean, ugh, look, if someone hands me a winning lotto ticket, I'm not exactly going to rip it up in front of them and say it's not about that. But I can hand on heart say that what I want is to not have financial stress. I don't need to be extremely wealthy, driving around in fancy cars, massive 10-bedroom house. None of that particularly appeals to me. But what I would like, especially because I am a single mum and I share care of two teenage children, is to be able to relax a little bit financially, as I guess the goal for me, and to be able to make sensible decisions, not overspending or wildly kind of, burning through money, but being able to give myself and my kid a decent life, but still be relatively humble in terms of we're not, like, rolling in it.
Yeah, for sure. That's a good position. That's a well-grounded position you have there. So how the heck do you now need what?
And I think to make it happen, of course, which I think
Yes, of course. No, no, I'm not gonna jump to that because that's too technical. Yeah, that is hard. Um, but I think you'll get there. Absolutely. But I think what you mentioned on really was interesting. Financial stress, right? I don't care about necessarily the quantum or the accumulation to a degree. I just don't want to be stressed by it, stressed by the unknown, stressed by not having enough cash flow. It can represent itself in many different ways. Stress about the amount of obligations you have to pay. That's where these things come up. Where do you feel like employers, or where do you feel like there's a gap in the market for, um, a company to help other companies provide that ability to reduce the stress that people face in finances through the workforce? Because, for most people in employment, especially, your relationship with your employer is the primary source of wealth you actually have. And your job is a source of wealth. It's an asset that you hold until you lose it. But conversely, also, the employer then um, doesn't have an obligation, but is basically feeding whatever financial habits they may have. And how is that best received? Because employees don't want to feel like they're being mothered or like they're being kind of degraded by help, or by guidance. Especially when you think about, the UK. I was reflecting on this the other day, and the annuities, the whole annuity industry, around, these people that saved diligently and saved more than we save today, and then paid into these annuities and ended up with zero ownership. And they lose it, and if they're unlucky enough to pass away early, that family gets shortchanged. And it's actually terrible.
yeah,
So that's what,
yeah.
yeah, and that's why equity ownership is so important to me personally, right? Because you've got to own something in this time where basically we've kind of there's a fluctuation between own less to now, yeah, to then there's some middle ground, right? Where I think culture, depending on the time and what happens and the different circumstances, we can veer as a collective between own lots of stuff, own nothing, prepare for tomorrow, don't prepare for 10 minutes from now. Um, and I think and I think that I think it's innately human, and I think that we're just always going to be on that continuum, and it's not actually different. Just like this whole AI question and debate.
Yeah. 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 And I think it's really interesting because I think we've all observed, anyone that's kind of thinking about, finances and wealth and that kind of thing. The curtains are kind of starting to and have quite decently been pulled back, I think. And that's, the development of different platforms and different sort of ways to invest and, more education and information around what to do with your money, and how important it is. We've got different kind of, we've evolved, thankfully, over time in terms of, it's not about like mum, dad, and the kids, and the mum stays at home and the dad goes to work and the mum doesn't know anything about the money because the dad's doing it. Yeah. Obviously, all of our circumstances have changed. Thank goodness, because, it opens up a nice life for a lot of people that don't necessarily fit into that mold. But what it means is that lot more people wanting information, and actually, I would go as far as saying demanding information. So, I can only speak as a cis woman who has, had a marriage end, and, and had some level of financial sort of understanding. I bought a house with my ex-husband. We were involved in that together. But I very quickly realized, oh my gosh, like this is on me now. Like, and as it should be, because I'm a strong woman. But, for me as well, there was definitely that feeling of like, well, who do I talk to? Because is someone going to laugh at me if I walk into their office and go, I don't know what I'm doing. This is how much I earn. I don't know what to do with my money. Is a traditional financial advisor going to go, oh, I only deal with people in the millions and also you go bugger off? Like, whether that's right or wrong, that was a feeling. It's the same for some woman, when you go car from the bloody mechanic. You're like, "Oh, great. I'm gonna have to walk into the mechanic and go and get the car." So it's that kind
Yeah.
of feeling.
It's those jobs to get done. We call them jobs to get done. We call them jobs to get done. And we all have these jobs to get done that we don't want to do or we don't know a lot about. I mean, and that's really been the evolution. Yeah,
Yeah.
you go.
No, I absolutely agree that there's been an evolution in the sense, and for me, speaking personally, the buck stops with me. So I have to know this stuff. I have to go and pick up a car when it's had a service or a warrant,
Yep.
whatever. I have to think about how I'm going to protect my future and how I'm going to provide as best I can for my kids. Um, and I think it's really interesting the point that you made about, where does an employer's role begin and end? Because I would argue that even if you looked at some of the benefits and the services that companies provide now, even versus 5 or 10 years ago, have really broadened to the point where if you and I were having this conversation 15 years ago, would we have any real understanding of what the employee assistance program looked like? Wouldn't assume that and the company, I'm not going to talk about my mental health with someone that I've met through work. Like, you know what I mean? Like, so we are evolving. Totally. As long as we go down that communication route and we build it as a benefit of working at that company. We care about your finances. We care about your financial health. We don't want there to be barriers to you achieving that. So we have since partnered up with this business to be able to provide you the support at the level that you need. And you can kind of pick it up or put it down or wherever you want. But because we are a part of your life for 40 hours a week, we feel an
Yep.
obligation to your long-term well.
And what when you see things programs like this work and they can exist in many different ways within organizations, they're implemented in different organizations. What are the sort of characteristics of the programs that actually work?
Programs where people can see themselves in there. Like it's relevant, it's not confrontational. They can see themselves in that program. So it's really applicable and it's really, I guess, from the user experience perspective, you've thought about what the barriers might be to someone participating. So is it, they don't even know where to start? Is it that, they feel a bit embarrassed that they don't already know this stuff? How you need to really meet them where they are as opposed to making assumptions you think they are. That's when you'll get people just saying, "Oh, too hard. I actually am too busy." And so I don't being embarrassed right now, so I'm not, and so again, humor is such that you have to be able to see yourself in it and see the
Yep.
benefits of it and be able to apply it to your own life.
Right. That makes total sense. Awesome. Well, it's been awesome having you on the pod. I've learned a lot. I enjoyed having this conversation. So thank you so much. And yeah, we'll speak to you soon, I'm sure.